People today. They could spend half their lives over 50. That's a lot of living. So it helps to have a wise friend and fierce defender in your corner. A friend like AARP. So your health lives longer.
This is just slow-mo karate?
Just slow-mo karate.
Your money lives longer.
I just bought that.
I just sold that.
And your happiness lives longer. That's why the younger you are, the more you need AARP. Join today.
Good morning, and welcome to Inspiring the Next Generation of Powerful Women, a special 4-part virtual series brought to you by AARP Illinois in celebration of Women's History Month. I'm Teresa Jones, your host and Associate State Director at AARP. I'm thrilled to guide you through this empowering journey of women's leadership. Throughout the years and throughout this series, we will delve into AARP's mission of empowering people to choose how they live as they age, with a special focus on celebrating and fostering female leadership across generations. At AARP, our mission is to empower people to choose how they live as they age. And part of that mission involves shining a light on the remarkable contributions of women across all spheres of life. This series is designed not only to honor the achievement of women and our women leaders, but also to provide insights and inspiration to those aspiring to make their mark. We are honored to have Dr. Jacqueline L. Newman, Executive Director of the Springfield Housing Authority, as our special guest today. Dr. Newman, who I will fondly call Jackie, her exemplary leadership and dedication to community service has paved the way for many and stands as a beacon of inspiration. Today and in our upcoming sessions, we will explore various facets of leadership, the unique strengths of women bring to these roles, and how we can all contribute to fostering an environment that nurtures and celebrates female leadership. So, without further ado, let's dive into an enriching conversation with Dr. Newman. So, hello, Dr. Newman. How are you today?
Hello, fine, Teresa. How are you?
Doing well. And thank you again for agreeing to do this.
I appreciate you having me.
Oh, good. And I appreciate you saying yes. So let's just get into some of these questions. What was your first job and how did it set the stage for your career in leadership?
Well, my first job here at the Springfield Housing Authority was the receptionist and typist for the organization. My very first job was with Land of Lincoln Legal Assistance, where I also served as receptionist, but that was during my high school career.
All right. That's when they used to call us receptionists as clerk typists. Is that right?
Indeed, yes.
Yeah. So can you share your personal journey that led you to the Springfield Housing Authority?
Interestingly, I wish it was, planned, but I was fresh out of junior college. I went to Robert Morris College, and I was really in need of a job. And that is the truth of the matter. I had a student loan that was coming due, and I needed employment. So I went to the Springfield Urban League, actually, and they enrolled me in a program, an on-the-job training program, where the Springfield Urban League paid 50% of my salary, and the employer, wherever they were going to send me, paid 50%. And they actually placed me at Springfield Housing Authority at that time.
Wow. So what were the pivotal early career that shaped your path?
I think just working for people, serving people, I should say, definitely shaped who I am. It's who I am anyway, and how our parents raised us to be is serving people. And so when I had the fortunate opportunity to start a place of employment here at the Housing Authority, it just really opened my eyes to the benefit of helping people.
So, Jackie, when did you know that you wanted to become the executive director of the Springfield Housing Authority?
Really?
Had that ever entered your mind? I'm sorry. Had that ever entered your mind?
It really had not, to be honest. I I've always served a support role. I'm very comfortable serving a support role. It was at the point that my predecessor indicated that he was resigning, and my what I anticipated doing was just supporting the next executive director. And it was he who said, "You really should consider doing this." And at his urging, and of course, much prayer, I decided to throw my hat in the ring.
Okay. So I hear you say you've always been in a support role, kind of role. And it seems like ever since I've known you, which has been a lot of years, you've always been a leader to me. So you've always had all those exemplary leadership skills. And so I kind of want to talk about some of that right now. So can you describe your leadership style and why and how you think it's effective?
Sure. I would describe my leadership style probably a combination of servant leadership as well as intentional leadership, making sure that one, as it relates to servant leadership, making sure that I am others serving and not self-serving, making sure that I am making a contribution in the lives of not just the individuals that I'm serving in my career, but making an impact in the lives of people that I have opportunity to come in contact with in all aspects of my life. Intentional leadership in that I believe that we should empower people and that we should be intentional in whatever our next steps are. And so I would say it's a combination of servant leadership, intentional leadership, and hopefully transformational leadership.
Okay. Can you give an example of a significant challenge that you faced as a leader and how you overcame it?
Ooh, that's a great question. There are challenges every day, but in my field of work, as it relates to expanding, preserving, affordable housing, it's always a challenge to ensure that there is enough housing for the families who are in need. And it takes a team of people. As a leader of the organization, I can vision it, but it takes the supporting cast, if you will, to make sure that they put hands and feet to the vision and that they buy into the vision. So every day, there is something that we're thinking of how can we make the quality of life for the families that we serve better. So I think that would be one. The other, I would point to one of the developments that we did a few years ago at the villas at Vinegar Hill, where we had to collaborate, forge partnerships, to leverage resources to demolish an old high rise and to develop something that was new for our seniors.
Okay.
Took a collaborative and a partnership to do that.
Right. So talking about professional women and leadership, in your experience, what unique strengths do you think women bring to leadership roles?
I read a book once that says women are made of like spaghetti and men are like waffles. They can compartmentalize things. I think the strength that one of the strengths that we bring to the table is that we definitely have the ability to be flexible. Not that men don't, but that we have the ability to be flexible and we intertwine a lot of who we are personally, professionally as well. That can be a double-edged sword. It can be, both a strength and a weakness. I have had the fortunate opportunity, if you will, to utilize it as a strength.
So, saying all of that, how do you mentor and support other women in their professional growth?
Through challenging, being present, being available, offering a listening ear, not always speaking, but being, and then just, again, trying to be the example, trying to be the example that individuals can look towards to say, I can do that too. But at the same time, making sure that I provide the support that others provided for me on this journey as well.
Well, I can attest to that because I know you personally as well as professionally. And I've watched you mentor many women in your role as a pastor's wife and also as your role as the executive director. So we're all lucky to have you in our lives. I can say that. What lessons have you learned from past women leaders that apply in your leadership?
Be true to who you are, be authentic, dare to dream. Early memory for me is fourth grade when I wrote Shirley Chisholm, and her office wrote me back as a 9-year-old. And I remember looking at her thinking, wow, she's breaking barriers, and I have the ability to do that as well. And so just the fact that it's okay to dare to dream, that nothing is impossible, but it takes hard work, and it's okay to be different.
So I just heard you mention Shirley Chisholm. Now, are there any other women in your history that have inspired you the most, and maybe tell us why?
My mother, Dora Mae Jones, I have to say that she has such a quiet strength about her, came from humble beginnings of Mississippi, did not have the opportunities that they afforded us or me as one of their children to pursue education. She didn't get a chance to graduate from high school, had an 11th grade education, but when they moved to Springfield, had a career that allowed us to be able to live comfortably and allowed me to pursue my dreams in terms of educational aspirations. My mom has a very powerful presence, but she is a very quiet woman. So I love to refer to her as quiet strength.
Yes. So we're going to talk a little bit about teamwork and business successes. So how do you foster an atmosphere that promotes cooperation and collaboration in your organization?
One of the things that I do on a consistent basis is a lot of people talk about an open door policy. I literally leave my door open physically. And as it relates to culture, I encourage our staff to do the same, because to me, closed doors say, don't bother me. And I want to make sure that I'm available. I said it earlier, for individuals to just stop by and say hi. Doesn't have to be anything going wrong, going on. That's the way you get to know the family that we have here at work, and how you learn just a little bit more about them so that you understand what motivates them. Collaboration, hearing their voices, creating roundtable discussions for all levels of staff so that they can feel free to express what is on their mind, bring ideas to the table. And then I appreciate and love the opportunity to give them credit for ideas that they've suggested and the ideas in which we have implemented. Each year, I take my executive leadership on a 3-day strategic planning retreat, but it also incorporates team building, getting to know each other, making sure we understand each other's leadership styles so that we can complement each other and not compete with each other towards a common mission.
Yeah, I think that's very important. You kind of answered my next question, but we'll go a little deeper maybe. So your approach to transformational leadership. So how do you implement, and you kind of, I think, lead it into that with your leadership meetings that you have. So how do you implement transformational leadership in your role, and what impact has it had?
I think just implementing is by doing, by being as well, not just saying it, but modeling it as well. And then giving others the opportunity to grow in their management and leadership space, but at the same time, respectfully challenging individuals when you see their leadership might not lend itself to what is moving us closer to the mission or empowering or encouraging others in the organization. Because leadership for me is not about where you sit in the organization. It's about the influence and the impact that you have wherever you sit in the organization. You can be a transformational leader where you're changing lives, where you're empowering individuals, where you're encouraging them, you're collaborating with individuals. So to me, it's a plethora, a combination of those things.
So I would say that those are some of the strategies that you
Mhm.
use to encourage innovation and change within your organization. So how did this kind of set the stage for your career in leadership?
In terms of
The strategies that you use, because everyone does things a little differently. And so
Sure.
when you first came in as a director, I'm sure you weren't the same type. Your leadership style was probably different than the director they had before. So how did you set that stage in leadership, in your leadership role?
And I know I keep saying this, but I think modeling the way is so important. Challenging processes, not just because this is the way we've always done it. I've always been the type of person that thinks about what is outside the box versus what's inside the box. And then making sure that I'm enabling others to act and, providing clarity with the vision so that it's a shared vision, inspiring others to share the vision of particularly Springfield Housing Authority and the organization. But I think it's so important, and I can't emphasize it enough, that we do our best to encourage, to enable, to empower, to challenge processes, to challenge individuals to be their best, but most of all, to do our best to model the way. And even when we do our best to model the way, sometimes we fall short. But what's important is that we brush ourselves off, we get back up, and we try again.
All right. I like that. So how do you manage, and I'm sure it happens in all organizations, how do you manage conflicts within the teams to ensure collaborative success?
Sure. Conflict to me can help promote growth. Healthy conflict is important. Conflict many times is looked at as negative. And I think we take the conflict and figure out what can we learn from this. There are always going to be differing views. It doesn't mean that that view is wrong or incorrect. It's just how do we come to, if you will, a happy medium so that you might not get everything you want, the other person might not get, but that we challenge each other, but we challenge each other respectfully. We can have conflict and disagree, but we don't have to be disagreeable.
So that leads me into my next question. Is there if you feel so led, discuss a project or initiative where promoting cooperation was key to its success?
So I'm going to talk a little bit about my experience with Peoria Housing Authority. I had the fortunate privilege to serve the community of Peoria, Illinois, for 4 years. And it was so important going in as an outsider to an organization and to a community who didn't know me, one, to establish myself of who I was, but also to pull together a team of individuals, not only who I didn't know, but who didn't know me, and to articulate what the ultimate goal and vision was. For instance, in Peoria, there was a development that had been in the works for 12 years and some other things that we were challenged to go over and try to assist with, pulling elected officials, pulling governing boards, pulling staff, pulling funders together towards that shared vision was huge and important. That is one of the things that I can point to, that when you drive to Peoria now, it's now called Providence Point, but it was Taft Homes, an old project that has now been demolished, and there are beautiful duplexes and triplexes and individual homes that's going along with the community center that's for multi-generational families and individuals. And so pulling that together within a community that didn't know me, I didn't know them, but we had the ability to come together and work together towards a common goal, and it'll be there for years to come.
Let's talk
I
a
hope
little
that
bit
answered
about.
your question.
Yes, it did. Thank you. Yes. Let's talk a little bit about communication style. And you have kind of hit on some of it, but how do you adapt your communication style to effectively lead and inspire your team?
I think communication, as I said earlier, is more than talking, it's listening. Communication is also our body language and what we say with it, the power of our presence when we enter a space, the vibe that we can give from even just our footsteps when we walk into a place. I think we have to exude what it is that we want to see happen. Many times I'll ask and challenge my staff. I'll say, are you a thermometer or are you a thermostat? So are you taking the temperature of the room or are you setting the temperature? And so I think it's important that as we navigate the spaces in which we've been allowed to serve, that we serve as not a thermometer, but a thermostat, and that we set the temperature, that we set the atmosphere, that we set the vibe.
I really like that. I'm going to have to use that sometime. Yeah, I have never heard that before, but I think that's wonderful.
So
So,
yeah, use all kinds, verbal and
yeah,
just the power of presence and
yeah.
listen.
So, active listening, very important right
It's
here. So, your approach to your leadership, has that evolved? Well, I know it has, but how has that evolved over the years?
Well, again, I've had the privilege to serve now 19 years as executive director for Springfield Housing Authority. And when I started 19 years ago, of course, I was a different person than I am today. Each experience shapes us. It shapes us either to make us better or it shapes us and makes us bitter. I like to choose opportunities for growth to make me better. And as I am better, I can help others get better. So I think just every experience that I have had personally, professionally, every challenge, every human resource challenge, maybe every community challenge, I would love to say that every neighborhood welcomes affordable housing development, but that's not the case. And so when we develop affordable housing in places and in neighborhoods that aren't as welcoming, there's groundwork that has to happen. We have to make sure that we are partnering with that neighborhood and that we're hearing their voices, hearing their concerns, and then understanding their voices and concerns. And then how do we take what they've said and then try to make sure that we consider it and operationalize it before we move forward.
So, I know you. I know you personally. I know you as a strong woman of faith. How do you navigate the intersection of faith and leadership in your work?
Faith is priority and primary with who I am. So, what I do as it relates to my career, they benefit based on who I am as a woman of faith. And so, our calling is not just a compartmentalized calling. Our calling, if our calling is to help people, which I know that's my calling,
Mhm.
it is not compartmentalized. So while I may never speak the name of the God I follow,
Mhm.
who I am, uh, the characteristics, the traits of who I am as a woman of faith is exhibited whether even if I never say the name of Jesus.
Right. So I think that's how you've developed, or maybe I shouldn't say what I think. I should ask. So that's how you developed your personal brand as a female leader, is that backbone of having that strong faith. Would you say?
Indeed, indeed. It guides everything that I am. It's who I am. And again, uh, based on my chosen profession,
Mhm.
they benefit from who I am in what I do. And so I do it from that foundation and from that standpoint.
So, what advice do you have or would you give to women that are looking to establish themselves as leaders in their field?
Prepare yourself. Again, one of the principles that I've stood on for a long time is ensure that you are preparing yourself for the opportunity so that when the opportunity presents itself, you can say, here I am, I'm ready, and this is what I've done to prepare myself versus hold on while I go get ready and, give me the opportunity and then I'll show you. I'm a strong advocate of education, and maybe it's because my parents didn't have the opportunity to get an education in Mississippi the way we have the opportunities here today. And so I would advise women, of course, to be their authentic self. Um, Again, dare to dream and always prepare yourself for what's next. Try to keep me a next list. I'm a list person. What's next? And being sensitive to following the call and the purpose that you have deep down, whatever your passion is, you'll have that urging and you won't be satisfied until it's fulfilled. So be your authentic self, prepare, and dare to dream.
Well, I was going to ask you as we're getting ready to close if you had any closing statements, but I think unless you had something else you wanted to add, I think you gave us a wonderful closing statement right there. Is there anything you'd like to add?
No, other than thank you so much, Teresa, for this opportunity, and certainly thank AARP of Illinois for just giving me a platform to share who I am and to, just give me an opportunity to be and to share on today. Very humbled by this experience.
Well, I truly, truly enjoyed this, and I know many, many of our listeners will as well. As we conclude today's session of inspiring the next generation of powerful women, I want to extend a heartfelt thank you to all of you for joining us. Of course, a special thank you to Dr. Jackie L. Newman for sharing her invaluable insights, experiences, and all that wisdom she laid on us. Your journey and your leadership are truly inspiring, and we are grateful for the opportunity to learn from you. So I hope today's discussion has ignited a spark within each of you that are listening to pursue your passions, lead with courage, and support one another in our collective journey towards an empowerment and equality. Remember, each one of us has the power to effect change, inspire others, and lead with a purpose. So please join us for our next session in this series as we continue to explore the dynamic of female leadership, the challenges we face, and the victories we should celebrate. On March 21st, with Representative Nicole Laha, she has gone from being Miss America 2022 to the Illinois State Representative. We'd love for you to join us and hear her. Together, let's inspire and uplift the next generation of powerful women, creating a legacy of strength, resilience, and unity. And thank you once again for being a part of this special event. This concludes today's virtual event.